Let me be very clear. The people on this review may differ of opinion on the movie we are about to review, but on one thing we do agree. Sam Wilson is Captain America, and we like it. This is the review of Champions, and I'm your host, Grandmaster. With me is a powerful panel made up of the finest champions Sakar has to offer. Let me introduce them to you. First up, we have the original, Mr. Taylor First. How are you?
Excellent.
Fresh out of the theater?
I did see the movie this morning. Yes.
Okay. Voice only, we have Loki's mom. How are you?
Brave, new, and worldly.
Okay. Showing his beautiful face on camera, we have Merv. How are you?
I hope to be someone to aspire to.
And last but not least, we have voice only, Mr. Lord Deathman. I hope you're doing well, sir.
Yeah, hey everyone. The sky's the limit.
Well, now we got all the jokes out of the way. We're going to talk about Captain America: Brave New World. But before we do, I want to ask you all to help us out. Like and share this video, subscribe to our channel, and join our forum on sakar.freeforums.net. Well, if that was too fast for you, there's a link in the description below. Just click it and you can set up an account and become a champion yourself. And if you want to, you can be on the show. No problem. Consider this your final warning. After this point, we are spoiling the movie. So if you haven't seen it, go do that first and then check out our review. And if you come to hate watch for all the wrong reasons, you're in the wrong place as well. We're going to do 3 rounds. First, we do some quick thoughts on the movie, if we liked it or not. And then we take a deeper dive, why we liked it or not. And then we end up with a rating, which will reflect if we liked it or not. Well, and you know what? There may be afterthoughts or discussions or fights. You never know. Well, let's just begin. And then I have to summarize this movie before I start to have the panel go off on it. Sam Wilson sees Isaiah Bradley firing a gun at President Ross, and then he goes on a mission to clear his name. It's weird. Merv, did you like the movie?
Yes. I'll say I honestly did. I thought it was a good movie. It's got plenty of flaws. But I found myself, especially right after it, thinking that I appreciated the parts I liked more than I didn't appreciate the parts I didn't. And I don't blame anyone for, not liking this movie at all. There are plenty of issues that I'm sure we'll get into. But for the most part, I thought it was a decent action movie with several nice moving parts for the MCU as a whole. And I really liked some of the character development, and really liked several of the action sequences. Like I said, I feel like that's probably going to be the most consistent aspect that I think we're probably all going to at least somewhat agree on. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of negatives about this movie, but overall, I think it was a net positive for me.
Okay. Nuance. That doesn't sell. Lord Deathman, did you like the movie?
I have to come out and say as a disclaimer at the top of my quick reactions that my thoughts on the movie have nothing to do with wokeism or politics or race relations. And it's really sad that I would have to come out and make a disclaimer like that. But I didn't think that Brave New World was a very good movie. And there's a lot to like about it. I think everybody involved tries to do their best to make this material work. But at the end, I felt that this was a fairly kind of tepid, weak sort of entry, especially when you're looking at the legacy of other Captain America movie films in this franchise. When you take a look at even a film like Winter Soldier, where you have this really incisive debate about freedom versus security, when you're when you're watching it and the plot is like, oh, some helicarriers are going to be spying on a bunch of people, and that's a bad thing. That's mumbo jumbo. But they made that into a bigger issue when you break it down into, should people have more freedom and privacy, or should we have a more secure state via this mechanism? There's no kind of debate like that in this movie. There's just a weird scramble to get your hands on a natural resource or an unnatural resource, depending on your point of view. And it's not even really made clear what the utility of it is, what advantage people will gain going to war for it. It seems plenty of it that like there's enough to share. So I don't know why things even escalated to that. And I have to say, as much as I love Mackie, I love the new additions to the MCU, Joaquin Torres, always a big fan of Isaiah Bradley, played by Carl Lumbly. This film just didn't have enough for me to kind of give it a like as an endorsement.
Loki's mom, did you like the movie?
Well, I liked it well enough. I pretty much agree with Merv. As far as the action goes, and some of it I did enjoy. The development. I like what they did with Thunderbolt. I thought that was an odd choice with Harrison Ford to play the part, but and he's no William Hurt, sadly to say, but late William Hurt. But I think he did bring characterization to that, and it was a very we're looking at a Thunderbolt who's made a lot of bad decisions and regrets and trying to reconnect with his daughter. And one thing that the movie does suffer from greatly, you really should be familiar with the Incredible Hulk movie, because I think a lot of things are set up between their relationship and everything. And also with Mr. Blue bringing his character back. So I think it suffered from that. And Lord Deathman brings good points. I think it felt thematically, it didn't really bring anything to the MCU narrative going forward. I mean, we just established that Mackie or the Falcon is now he is the definitive Captain America. No more arguments. Like it with the TV series, that was the whole issue. He wasn't, nobody wanted, or too many people did not want him to be Captain America, and it went from there. And here, and it starts out, it's pretty good. You're going to go out and build a new Avengers team, but then it gets sidetracked with the whole Isaiah Bradley being set up for murder and all that. So yeah, it was a lot of issues, but it was enough to keep me entertained. I think it would have played much better on television, to tell you the truth. It really looked flat.
It should have been a TV show. Taylor, did you like the movie?
I went into this movie with low expectations. The trailers did not thrill me very much. I didn't have a really good idea of what the story was going to be. Now, I had only watched the trailers. I didn't do any research ahead of time. But just from the trailers alone, I really didn't have a good idea of what was going on in this movie. And I did see the Rotten Tomatoes score of basically at the time, I guess it was 51 to 49 or something. Very split. So I went in with low expectations. I really was worried that I was not going to like this movie. But I did like this movie. Is this a good movie? Yes, it is. Do I have other things to say about this movie? Yes, I do. And we will get to those. But overall, it's a good movie.
Okay. I hated it. From the first second, no Marvel fanfare to the last second of the end credit scene. I hated it. So don't expect too much positives from me. There are some positive things in the movie, which I will mention now. I like the acting. I did like the action scene for the most part. I did not care for the Matrix style slowdowns of the action. Not needed. It's not really MCU, but I know it looks cool when you see the Captain America turn and then slice something with his wings. I get that, but I don't need that all the time. There was no theme in the movie. The dialogue didn't seem to fit what was actually happening or had happened on the screen. There are characters in there that were redundant, and I still don't know why they were in the movie. And I'm not only talking. Oh, first I need to ask Taylor. That Bucky thing, was that a cameo or a guest role, or how can I put this?
That was a supporting role. That was not a cameo.
Okay, that supporting role moment from Sebastian Stan in Bucky. Yeah, I'm not talking about that. That was cool and anything. And but they hire Liv Tyler for like 10 seconds in the movie. It's, there's so much that was not good and annoyed me. And yeah, I think for me personally, this is the absolute worst movie Marvel has ever made. It's the lesser sequel that nobody needed for the Incredible Hulk, which is not my favorite MC movie to begin with. So for me, this was absolutely dreadful. I will not speak any more about this movie because otherwise you might get depressed. That's not my intention. So I move now to Loki's mom, who had a lot of positive things to say about this movie for her deep dive.
Yeah, it comes to some of the things I pointed out. I think it got sidetracked with the character stories, with the backstories and whatnot. You just got lost in that, and um, there is the political thing, and I'll go ahead and address it as lightly as I can. Thunderbolt Ross has been elected president of the United States. Now, how ridiculous is that? Who has done the things that he's done in the past in the MCU. But we can rest assured he didn't get elected because he was a bleeding heart liberal. So we know there's sort of this undertone of what's going on here. And there is some things where, particularly in the beginning of the movie, well, he is the president. We do have to support him and things like that. I thought that was just kind of heavy-handed. I think it was pandering a bit. I don't know what. I guess maybe they're feeling the pressure out in Hollywood, just like everybody is right now, because of who. So anyhow, and yet it didn't really get bogged down in that. I noticed once it sort of got into the Isaiah part where he's and it brought that out, and maybe I think people who hadn't seen the series, who his character was and who he's reflective of, a real situation where we had people who were taken advantage of and exploited by the system, and so they didn't have super soldiers, of course, or anything like that, but they did have space programs, and they were well qualified men, only men at that time who could be part of the space program, and these one in particular faced a lot of discrimination and was cut at the last minute. There would have been Mercury 8, but it wound up being Mercury 7. Anyway, that said, I think that I do appreciate that they brought that part out, along with sort of catering to the right wing that's in domination in our society right now. I don't know how this is going to affect the MCU going forward, whether they'll be able to, because I think the MCU has always been a liberal. They've always had a liberal stance to their stories, to their narratives, and that goes back to the foundation of Marvel and Stan Lee. That was his ethos. So how much it's going to be able to go forward, I don't know. But I think it's sort of, you saw a glimpse of it here in this movie, and particularly with the back and forth that we're seeing in social media and whatnot. Now, as far as other points of the movie, I think, yeah, it was just totally flat. They wasted Tim Blake Nelson. And I didn't actually even catch it at first when they played the Mr. Blue song. That's what triggers these people who've been brainwashed by Mr. Blue to turn into zombies and shoot and kill people, whatever. And then, oh yeah, and then it dawned on me, yeah, I made the connection. But then they really didn't. We finally saw the character, he really just, like I say, it looked like he'd been made up for a TV show, for a medium budgeted TV show. The effects really weren't there. They were flat. It was, like you say, I think it's been pointed out that some of the dialogue was stilted. Just, not up to the intellectual quality that we've seen in the past with the MCU, particularly with the America films.
Now you mentioned the leader,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody can weigh in on this moment. I have said on the board that I think this is worse than Secret Invasion. You got mad at me because you say I forgot how bad Secret Invasion was. Well, the leader actually made me think that it was quite bad because
I should have put a smiley face beside that. I know I was totally laughing.
The guy, the military guy, gets the phone call that there's gamma radiation in the pills, and then he starts to make a phone call. He walks away from and he walks right into the leader's face.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way this guy could know this. He just shows up there randomly, conveniently, and it reminded me like Nick Fury's wife going to the bank to get a gun while her house is fully stacked with guns. It's that stupid. I mean, it made no sense to me. I don't care how he looks.
Okay.
He was just there conveniently. And then he all of a sudden decides to give up while he can still talk to Ross from anywhere. He doesn't need to turn himself in. He can just talk to him because he did that many times before, but he turns himself in. So why? It makes no sense at all. This whole movie made no sense. It's truly atrocious in my book. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't speak anymore. But continue on, the leader.
Well, I've been told off.
That's no way to treat a lady,
right.
Grandmaster.
You know what? I'll let it rest at that.
No, but it's true, right?
I don't disagree. But no, it's as far as Secret Invasion. No, it's not. No, we were tortured for what 8 weeks.
Well, watching this movie felt like 8 weeks.
No, I don't think so. And no, sir, I did not get mad at you whenever I was being wry and sarcastic.
I know. Love you.
Thank you. I love you too, sir.
But anyway, Taylor, you had things to say, so you can say them.
Well, I'm predicting that Grandmaster will give this movie a 7 out of 10. That's what I'm going with right now.
You are the little optimist, aren't you?
Overall, I like the movie. Is it the strongest story in the MCU? No, but it's not a bad story. I thought the story flowed fairly well. I liked what they did with Harrison Ford and Thunderbolt Ross. I was afraid they were going to make him a caricature, and they didn't. He actually did a pretty good performance. He was somewhat nuanced. And Thunderbolt Ross in the comics, at least in the Stan Lee era comics, was never a villain. He was a pain in the butt. He made decisions that the audience might not agree with, but he was never an out-and-out villain. So I'm glad that the MCU hasn't tried to turn him into an out-and-out villain either. And again, I thought he did a pretty good job of not being a caricature, but being enough to cause some issues here, making some bad decisions, doing some bad things, which led to terrible things. So I thought they handled that fairly well. Now, the MCU made the decision to pass the mantle of Captain America to someone else. And they decided that it's Sam Wilson. That's fine. He's as good as anybody else to do that. But to me, Captain America is not a mantle. It's not a title. It's not a position. It's a person, and his name is Steve Rogers. So every time they do this, whether it's in the comics or the cartoons or in the MCU, it always just feels like a what if to me. You know, it feels like, well, he's not really Captain America, but what if Sam Wilson was Captain America and we had a story there? You know, it always just feels that way to me. And the same with Falcon. This Joaquin gentleman, he doesn't feel like the Falcon to me, but I guess they've decided he's going to be the Falcon going forward. regardless, that's the decisions they've made. Let's see how well they do it. And again, in this movie, I think they did okay with it. I don't care a whole lot about the new Falcon character. Hopefully, they'll give him more stuff to do in the future. He'll become a full-fledged Avenger. I'm hoping at some point. I've seen people in social media saying he's going to be on the Young Avengers. Well, he's a captain in the U.S. Armed Forces. It means he's pushing at least 30 years old. So he's not Young Avengers material at this point. I liked the leader was okay. I know the actor. I like the actor a lot, and I think he did a really good job. Again, was this the best story ever? No, I mean, it's not like Winter Soldier, which was a very exceptionally well-written story. But as far as a comic book movie in the MCU, I'd put it, somewhere in the middle, story-wise. I think the action scenes were actually good. I've seen people on social media complaining about the action scenes as well, especially the hand-to-hand. But I thought the hand-to-hand scenes were actually well done, because he's not a super soldier, so he couldn't do super soldier stuff. It was a highly skilled fighter with some really neat tech, fighting some other highly skilled fighters at times, and I thought they executed it well. I like that Captain America's Falcon wings are made out of vibranium, and they work like Black Panther's suit, absorbing the energy and releasing it. I thought it was a cool touch where when Red Hulk hits him in the shield, he's like kind of shocked at just how much energy just got absorbed. He could feel how much energy got absorbed by his wings from the blow from the Hulk. I thought that was a good touch. The character of Ruth, I think her name was, the security advisor to the president, Red Room veteran, born in Israel character. I don't know much about her from the comics, although I know they're more focused on her Israeli background in the comics. Regardless, whatever, they did whatever they did with her in this movie. I just thought that it was a really strange casting choice with that actress. Not saying there's anything wrong with her acting. I just felt off. She didn't feel like a Black Widow to me. Maybe it was just me.
I think didn't she was like originally she was the Israeli character, but they rewrote and reshot the movie a little bit. So because of the controversy right now, and I'm not going to get into the politics of that, but Marvel decided this may be too controversial to add to our movie right now, so we changed it up a little bit. So that's why it may felt a little bit off, but I think that was a theme throughout all the movie. You can feel the reshoots and the changes, and that's why some things felt a bit off.
I mean, I have no idea what changes were actually made in all of those reshoots that we read about.
Me neither. I
couldn't. I didn't feel like it was really choppy. There was no point where I said, "Oh, they just cut in this scene here where it wasn't before." I didn't spot anything like that. So to me, it was fairly smooth. I also liked the action scene over the Indian Ocean, the big battle there. I thought that was a well done action set piece sequence, really showing the abilities of Falcon and Captain America. And it was action packed. It was, and of course Ross was there, and he was, the action was. I'm trying to think how to put this. The story and the action melded there. Okay, there was a reason for that action scene, and it was built up to, and then it led to other things.
Yeah,
so
but if I may interject, you are ex-military. Ever had a president in a war zone?
No.
Made no sense.
If I complained about everything they did wrong in movies regarding the military,
Yeah.
I would never go to a movie. It's just
yeah, but this was
they're
a little bit
completely
over
wrong.
the top.
Oh, another plus for the movie I thought was Giancarlo Esposito as Sidewinder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which Marvel does a good job with this of bringing in these lower tier villains and giving them stuff to do. You know, they did it with Claw and Crossbones and Badrock. You know, they've done it multiple times, and it looks like they're going to do it again with him. And he's still alive, so we could see him again. The leader is still alive, so we could see him again. I'm glad of both of that. I like when they keep characters that we can bring back, because we have a whole lot of movies to fill. So I'm glad they don't kill everyone off in this movie. I don't want to know who the next president is in the MCU. Just we've been through like a dozen presidents at this point. I don't even tell me who the next president is. Just say the president's on the phone. I don't even care who. Don't even tell us who it is or show him on screen anymore. We don't need it anymore. Let
They
the
didn't
Avengers
say
just.
just sort of jump in, but they didn't say who his Veep was in the
No, they
movie.
didn't.
'Cause that
No,
would have
we
been
have no idea. We have no idea who the president is.
Bucky Barnes.
Okay, so what for me the weakest. Well, yeah. Why is Bucky's running for Congress? Okay, I guess they're gonna build. I guess they're gonna do something with that. That seems.
Yeah, but
weird.
in the next movie, he will lead a team of bad guys. So that's
Yeah, he's
perfectly
gonna lead
normal
a
for
team of
congressmen in the
villains.
United States, I hear.
And I mean, he combed his hair, so that's at least a good thing. But it's still too long. To be
Yeah, I didn't
Congress.
shave either, so I can't
He
comment
doesn't
on his
shave.
beard. But
But for me, the weakest part of the movie was not. I mean, the story itself, like I said, was fine, but there's a few things that were just kind of we've seen so many times, and I always shake my head like, okay, the whole world knows what a Hulk is. The whole world knows they're freaking bulletproof. Why are you shooting at the Hulk?
and it was actually the Secret Service shooting the current
Shooting the
president.
president.
They should protect him instead of shooting him, right?
Exactly.
I
The
don't know.
Secret Service should have chased everyone else away and just let the President Hulk do whatever he was going to do. You know.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was just weird to me.
but it's
I
still
thought,
better than Secret Invasion, I guess.
yeah, well, it is.
or
Yes, it's
real
definitely
life.
better than Secret Invasion. The fight between Captain America and the Hulk, I was actually worried about that going into the movie. I thought they could really screw that up, but I think they did a good job with that action scene as well. Again, he used his tech. He wasn't able to overwhelm the Hulk. The Hulk ended up just by sheer unlimited power overwhelming him eventually, but they did a good job getting to it. And then, of course, they have the scene where, you don't want to do this, or whatever the lines were that finally got him to relax and not Hulk out. I liked a lot of the callbacks in this movie, so I think they actually did a pretty good job with continuity in this movie. There were callbacks to, I mean, I was trying to make a list earlier. Of course, the Incredible Hulk, of course, Falcon and Winter Soldier. What else? God dang it! I had a couple others already on my list, and now I've forgotten what they
Civil
were.
War.
Civil War, yes.
Got Eternals in there.
Eternals, yes, thank you. That was a big one. Eternals, which no one has referenced at all since then, except for What If, and I guess there was a newspaper headline in She-Hulk or something about the thing in the ocean. But yeah, so there was a lot of references to previous MCU stuff. So again, is this the best MCU movie? No. Is it the worst? No. I put it in the middle somewhere. I think it's an adequate addition to the MCU.
Okay. Lord Tethman, can I have your deep dive?
Indeed. Yeah. First off, I just wanted to address the idea that I keep seeing around that this looked like a TV show. Honestly, I thought this looked more cinematic than a couple of entries that they've had just prior to this one. There was something they had done with the color grading. It looked a little bit more cinematic, and I really enjoyed the aerial combat. That was second act, and I thought the Hulk Captain America fight at the end looked pretty good. So not sure where the TV comments are coming from. And I think my main problem with this film, as someone who didn't like it, is that it's just really not essential. There's just nothing going on in this film where if you scratch this film from the MCU record, that you would have missed a whole chunk of something, or it's just I think it's kind of skippable. in my view. Although I'm not dropping to the depths that you are, Grandmaster, in terms of it being like an abysmal failure. There are one or two things to like about it, but unfortunately, those things are in the minority. I didn't feel that there were any personal stakes as far as the characters. I feel like Anthony Mackie, who does a great job as an actor with the material that he's given, he's always great. The guy is just running into one person's office and then another person's office. Like, and even in the TV show, he had a sister. You know, he had a life going on in Louisiana. And people are like, oh well, I don't really come to these movies for that kind of stuff and the personal drama. I'd rather just kind of stick around for the action. But I'm here to tell you that when you watch Winter Soldier and you see Steve and Fury in an elevator, and Fury's telling you that story about his father and the revolver, and that piece of backstory that kind of informs why he feels the Insight program is something that should be done before he knows that it's been co-opted by Hydra, that stuff makes a story, right? It's not just buzzword adamantium and then let's have a fight, right? Like you really should do something to kind of peel back the layers of these characters. Like are Falcon and Captain America like roommates? They were in like this shared lair for a little while, and I'm like, do they live there? Or which brings me to the next point that I didn't really care for in the movie is Cap doesn't seem to have any kind of platform or legitimization with the government in terms of being Captain America. Steve Rogers had all of S.H.I.E.L.D. He had a strike team. He was an actual captain of something. Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson Captain America, seems to be the captain of a closet that has a costume in it and shows up for these meetings where he'll get chewed out from the president. So that I think could have added something to the story, and just in terms of helping a little bit more with legitimizing and selling Sam Wilson as Captain America. And again, there was no one that Mackie had to play off of to have that kind of Fury Steve dynamic that we got in the Winter Soldier. It just didn't work as well when it was Sam Wilson and Thunderbolt Ross. I also feel like that Sam Wilson is much more of a counselor than he is a superhero, and I think that comes through in the film. There's a lot of counseling going on when Sam runs into a problem, except when he's giving you a good mule kick from the top of a car. But yeah, there's like a counselor in Captain America, and then there's an anti-counselor in the leader. The guy who'll get on the phone with you and like troll you till you turn into a Hulk. Be like, yeah, you are the worst, man. Right? Like this is anti-counseling going on here in this phone call. So I didn't think much of the leader, and as a comic book reader who was a dedicated reader of the Hulk for many years, the leader really is a formidable foe in the Hulk gallery. If you're bringing him into a movie, I think you had to deliver a little bit better than what we saw here. Not a guy who just runs, who basically a calculator that was in a prison cell for 16 years. I have no reason to be afraid of this dude. He's got old style Radio Shack equipment that he's killing people with. The leader that I'm familiar with is much more of a person that can marshal resources, manipulate people on a board in ways that just can't be seen without the high level intellect and overview that he could bring to the situation. This leader just seems to have a very petty vendetta about something that he probably could have put an end to very early on during his incarceration. He probably could have worked his way out of that cell. There was no reason to be there for 16 years. And I didn't buy it at all when they kind of laid that on us. I thought that the fight choreography was solid, but it wasn't anything that was as exceptional as what you've seen in some of the other Marvel films. So this is passable fight choreography. You could watch it. There are a few cute, clever moments in terms of how some of that fighting went on, but I didn't get that wow moment like in the elevator. I didn't get the moment where, look, Steve Rogers took down an entire helicarrier. There's something to be said for being a super soldier, by the way. And the regular variety really has to get by with less in terms of fight choreography, pyrotechnics. But Yeah, and then finally, my one of the other problems I had is I thought that again, as I said in my quick sort of notes, in Winter Soldier, you did really have this kind of polarizing issue that kind of forced people to think, well, what side of this issue am I on? Do I believe in a more secure state? Do I believe in a state where people have more freedom? That was an underlying thing that I think really kept me engaged about it. And it made me say, wow, this comic book stuff can really operate on this higher level. And then here in this movie, we're kind of fighting again for this adamantium, which just sounds more like keyword hot topics to get Marvel fans engaged. But there's really like, why are you fighting over this rock? Seems that there's a whole lot of it, not just the stuff that's coming up off the top of the water with Tiamat, but there's stuff even in the ocean. Like why? And there's like a tiny little jar that they're fighting over it. Like, and I'm like, isn't there a whole bunch more in the Indian Ocean? I'm not sure why we're treating this as if it was a scarce resource. It just seemed completely contrived to get these world powers fighting with each other, and then to have Sam Wilson have to kind of intervene in between that. So yeah, just the quality of writing and storytelling. I could follow the storytelling, and it was pretty clear. It didn't have too many hiccups in terms of how it would proceed, but it just wasn't very compelling. It was the problem. So I'm not one to make dire predictions, but I do feel that some of the things that I've been saying on the message board are going to come to pass for 2025 for the MCU. I still feel this is a gap year. I don't think that we're going to get what we want out of Thunderbolts. I think this is a year where we're just offloading the last of content that was kind of under that Chapek regime, and then maybe in 2026 we can look towards getting a higher watermark for some of this stuff. But quickly, I'll run through what I liked, which sadly isn't a whole lot. But I like the Red Hulk Cap fight. Lots of surprising, thrilling moments in that. Seeing it on IMAX was absolutely amazing. I loved all the actors. I think they carried a lot of water for this movie. Anthony Mackie, Carl Lumbly, Tim Blake Nelson, Giancarlo Esposito, Shira Haas. I thought they all did great jobs with the material that they were given, but the material that they were given wasn't exceptionally strong or compelling. I liked a lot of the callbacks, as mentioned by some of the other panel members. And then I also liked the sort of mid-movie aerial fight sequences. I thought those were done well. And I love that stuff even from the marketing. I was like, wow, this will be worth the cost of the spectacle just to get in the door on some of that. And again, seeing it in IMAX with the cherry seat that I managed to get center middle of the theater was just fantastic. So all in all, this was Captain America: Brave New World was a miss for me.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I actually disagree. You're not strong harshly enough. But anyway, Taylor, before Merv, before I go to you, Taylor has a follow-up.
I saw this. I didn't see this movie in IMAX. I saw it in XD, and I'm not sure how many Ds that means or how many Ds there are, but it looked fine to me. Also, there was references to Black Panther and Wakanda a lot in this movie. It was one of the ones I forgot. I liked the mind control aspect of the story. I thought that was a good tool because as I was watching the trailers and I'm seeing, Sam destroying American aircraft and beating up FBI agents and stuff, I was a little bit worried that Captain America really shouldn't be doing that. But they used the mind control thing, and of course he didn't kill anybody. He didn't have to. So I thought they used that trope, that villain tool to good use in this movie to make it grounded and may have it make sense in the larger universe. And then I was probably something else, but I forgot. So I will, if I remember, I'll raise my hand again. Thank you.
That's fine. Merv, you have the floor. Let's have it.
Well, I'll just start with the things I didn't really like and get those out of the way. The big one for me is, and you could probably classify this under maybe my own expectations, but I don't really think that Sam Wilson had a particularly great journey in this movie, and I was really hoping for like a come out moment for Sam Wilson as Captain America of like, really hit it home. And I like Mackey's acting for the most part, and I just don't think like as far as like character depth there was that much here, as opposed, especially in contrast to like Thunderbolt Ross's character, who goes through a whole bunch in this movie as a character, which I loved. But I wish there was that level of affection shown towards Sam Wilson's journey in this film. There's not much of a conflict that he struggles with in this, emotionally or otherwise, and I just wish there was more there for that. Um, I, I did feel that quite a bit of this film was cobbled together or stitched together, or things like that. And again, I don't know what they reshot, what they changed, but it really felt uh like the camel, like the whole camel. You get a bunch of people and they're trying to make a horse and they want to make a camel or whatever it is. Like it really felt like there was a bunch of different ideas that they were like, we'll take this part of this and this part of that and that part of this and just squeeze it all together and try to make a movie out of it. I mean, there, like Grandmaster said, there was so many characters that just felt like redundant and thrown in for a couple of scenes and then pulled back out. And some of them, like Sidewinder, for example, he felt that way, but Giancarlo Esposito is really good, and he's also, just a really cool character, and the action scenes were good surrounding him, so that helps. But like other ones, like the Black Widow character, like that probably could have been cut and nothing would have been lost of this film, or take that time and give it to something else, like more development for Torres or Isaiah, or Sam Wilson for that matter. Like I just felt like there was a lot of that. Like there was almost too much stuff to make any of it worth, it could have all been trimmed down a little bit and made other things better by process. At least that's how I felt. And then, just kind of a staple anymore is just like, some of the CGI didn't look too great to me. It will not ruin a movie for me, but whenever it's good, it's good. And whenever it's bad, it stands out. And that's kind of where I was here. But the things I really did like, and probably the reason that this is overall a net positive for me is, again, I already mentioned it, but Thunderbolt Ross's character, his character's been around since 2008, since the very second MCU film, and this is the most depth he's gotten. His whole, he's been around forever, but he's mostly been, not, again, like Taylor said, not exactly an antagonist, but not exactly a good guy. He's kind of somewhere in between. He's got his own thing going on, but you never really feel supportive of him or connected to him in any way. He's always just like that guy who's after Bruce Banner, or that guy who's trying to arrest the Avengers, or just that government entity problem that they have to deal with. And you get a little bit of that here, but it adds so much more, or they focus on it so much more. They don't really add so much more, but focusing on his, Harrison Ford really delivered, I thought, like a really good, like conflicted old man who's running out of time, delivery of Thunderbolt Ross's character. Like he wants to be better. He wants to amend some of the mistakes he's made over his life, and he doesn't feel like there's that much time to do it.
I could jump
and
in
I
real
really
quick.
thought that came across.
It's almost like he's the main character of the movie, of the story.
Right.
Whenever
when I walked out, like, I mean, at the very least, he's like a side-by-side protagonist of this with Sam Wilson to me. But whenever I walked out, like, he had the better story of the two. And I think that's why, like, the Sam Wilson story is a little bit of a negative in this, but this one's a much bigger positive for me. Taking Thunderbolt Ross, who's been around forever, and making me care about him and making me want to see his character in future MCU films or whatever, just to see where it goes. You know what I mean? Like that, I thought that was a big positive for me. One thing that nobody really mentioned, well, I don't know if anybody else cared about it, but the kind of mentor-mentee relationship between Isaiah and Sam, and then Sam and Torres. I wish it was a little more focused, like I said, but I thought it really came across pretty well as, like, Sam taking advice from Isaiah, especially about being cautious about government agencies, which makes total sense for Isaiah's character. And then Tor is kind of taken is mostly combat tips from Sam, but a little bit of like life lessons. And I just really like that almost generational, like grandfather, father, son, or father, two brothers kind of relationship that they had going. I thought that landed for the most part. I think Anthony
What I
Mackie's
found
acting.
very good at what I actually really liked was the fact that Sam Wilson was training with Isaiah Bradley. Because he knows I don't take the serum, and I need to fight bigger and maybe better than me. So I need to train with the best, which is for him Isaiah Bradley. I actually like that. So the most stupid criticism online is like, Sam Wilson, he's not a super soldier. How can he be Captain America? He's just a guy in a fancy suit. Yeah, so was Tony Stark. And he didn't have backup from Wakanda. So that nonsense, and they showed how Sam Wilson gets his skills. He's training with a super soldier, and he's besting him sometimes. So that I really like. And before I go back to you, Merv, Lord Deathman has a follow-up on my comment, I guess.
No, not necessarily your comment, Grandmaster, but I just wanted to stand for the VFX team on this film. And I will be the first to admit that some of the VFX did look a little shaky in this, but I think when they had to deliver in certain sequences, they certainly did. And they've been carrying water a lot for the MCU in terms of some of the more middling entries that have come out. VFX have saved some stories, although Secret Invasion, I think, would be a notable exception to that. That being said, yeah, I just wanted to sing the praises of that VFX department, even though there was some shaky looking shots in there. The type of pressures that they're working under and the quality of the work that they deliver is probably the reason that we're seeing the kind of weekend in terms of box office that this film is garnering right now. That's all.
All right, Murph, you have the floor again.
Yeah, and just to touch up on that, maybe I didn't like the CGI is a little iffy, but the bigger problem for me in regards to the structure of the film was like some people mentioned the script, the dialogue, like some of that stuff in some of the story beats and editing. Like those were much bigger problems to me than a couple of CGI scenes that didn't really land. But I mentioned the CGI, so another net positive that everyone already touched on, but the action was super entertaining, particularly the Sidewinder scenes. I thought they were very reminiscent of some of the scenes from Winter Soldier, and I wish they would have had more of them. But then that final battle between Hulk and Captain Falcon, I thought that was really good. Also, I'm just a big Red Hulk fan, and it was great. And to see a Savage Hulk again, like it feels like it's been forever since we've seen angry Savage Hulk. It's been probably over 10 years or close to 10 years since we've seen that kind of a Hulk. And it's just one of those things like I kind of miss seeing this, like this just huge, angry, rampaging monster and just seeing him go crazy. You could argue that he probably should have killed, Sam Wilson, but then the movie would have ended a little shorter. But yeah, in general, I had a lot more fun with the good bits than there's probably a lot longer list of mildly negative things, but it didn't drag all the good stuff down for me to at least below. I do still think this is probably easily probably within the lower couple of MCU entries, but that's not really saying much. I think the MCU bar is pretty high when it comes to the low end. I even said that during my last rewatch. It was like, just because this one's at rank number 28 or whatever it was at the time, like, doesn't mean I won't watch it tomorrow and still have fun with it. And that's kind of where I feel about this movie is like, yeah, it's not great, but it's still watchable. And as soon as it comes on Disney Plus, I'll watch it again and I'll probably reevaluate my own opinion on everything. And maybe I'll like it more, maybe I'll hate it. I don't know. But yeah.
I will say this for the movie. It was an entertaining watch, but it's all surface level. if you dive a little bit deeper, it falls apart so easy. Loki's mom, you had a follow-up.
Yeah, you're talking about Harrison Ford's character. You know what I was impressed with was, and if they could have brought that out just a little bit more, I think it would have enhanced the movie. But you know, like I said, here he is. He's been elected president of the United States. Good gracious, and yet he's still got all this stuff, turmoil going on inside of him, and these regrets, and you know, is he doing? Will he be doing the right thing? You know, and maybe he wants to make amends with the country and whatnot. But yet, all his past sins, quote unquote, if you want to put it that way, keep come up, and they arise up in the Red Hulk. And then all of his rage, all of that, whatever it is, this conflict, it just comes bursting out. And like I say, they after he battles, they're back and forth a little bit. You know, it's the love that he feels for his daughter that he's able to bring him back down. You know, the same thing, the same woman actually that brings Bruce Banner down. You know, it's real. You know, I think very poignant, and I really do appreciate that. And I like to say, I do hope they bring bring Harrison back, bring Thunderbolt back down the road. And let's there's hope for him yet, just like with Loki and with so many of the characters that they have this redemption arc.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I say, I'm not going to do a deep dive. I already have said enough. So let's just do a rating. I'm going to start with you, Taylor. Can I have your number?
I'm really back and forth on this. I'm stuck between an 8 and a 9. 8.5, but then I would have to round it up to 9. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Now, just for reference, that puts it very much in the middle of the MCU. But most MCU movies are 10 out of 10 for me. And like Merv was saying, other than a couple of outliers, She-Hulk and Secret Invasion, the worst of the MCU is better than 99% of the other stuff that's out there. But yeah, for this movie, I'm going to give it, I'll go ahead and give it a very low 9 out of 10. Real quick follow up on what Lord Deathman said. This movie and Daredevil are the last two things that were started in the Chapek era at Disney. And both of them have undergone huge revisions since Chapek left. So we should be past that here at this point, hopefully.
Let's see. Merv, can I have your number?
I'm going to go 6.5 out of 10. I looked at my list because when I watched this, I was like, I enjoyed it, but where do I think it falls? So I rechecked my ranking from a couple years ago, and I'm like, it's probably around here. But then at the time, I had Iron Man 2 as my least liked movie, and upon a rewatch, it moved up just in phase 1 alone. That's about as far as I am on a rewatch. But so it's still entertaining to me and watchable, despite being probably in the bottom like 5 or 6 movies of the MCU films. I do still think it's better than at least She-Hulk and Secret Invasion, but I haven't rewatched those in years. So,
Lokismom.
I'm wondering what Sam Raimi could have done with this movie. Maybe it would have been more like a Dr.
Why is everybody so hung up on Sam Raimi?
He's the best.
Oh,
yes.
Because he's got that moing thing going on in his head. That's just that comedy outlier thing that I just love. But anyway, 7.
7 out of 10. Well, okay. Lord Deathman?
Yeah, this is a bottom 10, maybe bottom 5 MCU movie for me, so I have to give it a 4.
Yeah, I'm going to go straight.
Out of 5?
Unfortunately, that was out of 10. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I will rewatch this again when it comes on streaming and see if it upgrades my opinion of it. But yeah, I hold the Captain America franchise to a very high watermark, and I really don't feel like this one really matched up to it.
Yeah.
You need to watch it in 4D. You see, the problem is you didn't have enough Ds going in.
Quadruple D.
There's so many jokes going through my head right now, but I'm not.
I know you got to leave them alone.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, but I'm gonna go 1 out of 10. I really hated this
Oh,
movie.
wow.
To me, I don't hate Mackie in the role. I actually liked his acting, and I liked the acting overall, but it just didn't make any sense to me. I hated it from start to finish. Yeah, 1 out of 10. Sorry, I can't do anything about it. This is bottom tier MCU for me. And yes, it's still better than a lot of other things out there. But and you know what? I'm probably gonna watch it again next week because yeah, my wife hasn't seen it yet. So yeah, looking forward to that. That will conclude this review of Champions for Captain America Brave New World. We hope you have enjoyed our discussion today. If you did, help us out. Like and share this review and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you really want more of us, join our forum at cigar.freeforms.net. We would love it if you do that. Soon, we will start to talk about Daredevil Born Again. And new episodes of the Star Trek project are also on the way. For now, I want to thank you all also on behalf of our champions, and wish you to be safe and be well. Bye.